Today Manan is going to give us a presentation in his field of interest, which is security. So without further ado, Mr. Mohammed Manan.
So thanks all of you to come into this talk, and thanks Michel for inviting me. So this work, most of this work I did while I was doing a postdoc at University of Toronto. They have a systems focused group there, so it's a bit of a mix of systems and security. And before I start, I just want to, you will see this is a security system, and this is not for, this is not for low-end security systems like, say, this. We are not expecting this to be used for, say, Facebook login or something like that. This is where you really want the systems to be secure, because this requires some setup on the user machines and on the server side. So there are some changes on both ends, and you need special hardware as well. So just keep that thing in your mind. And this we'll be using some new features in which are, as I mentioned, these are some new features some new hardware features. But these are not very rare actually. Many of you may have a laptop with this kind of features, which we call trusted computing platform, which started sort of in around 2000. So many computers are shipped with those chips, but there is not much use so far. And we try to use that technology and some new features in Intel CPU and AMD CPU to design a really secure system. And what that system should do is it should address both malicious programs and the phishing problems. So you're probably familiar with the malware problem. Something infects your machine, and now if you want to, say, log into your bank, now that malware in your machine can actually log your user ID and password and send it to someone, right? And some malware are actually even smarter. They don't care about your login credentials. So what they will do is they will just wait for you to log in, and once you are done with your login, then they will just do some malicious transactions on your behind, and you will not notice what is going on. The phishing problem is a bit more interesting here. So the phishing is like, so what's the difference between these two URLs? Can you see it? The dot? Okay, so this is not what I didn't just made it up. You can just try it out like www.cibc.com and www.cibc.com. Both are valid domains, and one is actually the CIBC bank, the other is not. So how do you know that, right? How do you know that when you are using a computer system or you are seeing something in the screen, whether that's the real site or you are just being attacked in some social engineering, some social engineering techniques. So that's something we wanted to address, and we wanted to address both at the same time. And we have a third goal, which is a bit, a bit for the long term goal, which is like, you can design secure systems, but nobody enjoys using security tools, right? Say, how many of you like running antivirus programs in English? How many of you enjoy that feeling that you have to now run the virus checker and just enjoy the show? Anyone here? or the chore of updating your Windows or other programs when all these updates come around. For Microsoft Windows, it comes once in a month, but there are many other programs in your machine that you have to update, right? So we don't actually like it. Users do not like it. And in this one, the third one is, what we are trying to do is, you cannot do it for all systems, but for this one, what we want is that if you can say, it's like, it will work like this, you turn on the machine, and machine will turn on only if it is secure. So if there is no malicious software in it, only then it will turn on. Otherwise, it will not turn on. So you cannot simply use the system unless it is safe, right? So we are trying to hide the security behind the access model, so that if you can access the system, it's fine. Otherwise, it will not simply work. Okay. So for to deal with phishing, we have some tools. How many of you have seen something like this? It's called. So RSA has many of these devices, and some banks are now using it. So they generate this one-time password, and even if somebody gets your user ID and password, but they don't have this device, which is a physical device, then they cannot actually log into your system, because the system will require that you give the user ID, password plus a number, a changing number that will be displayed in this device. So even if you're phished for your user ID and password, still your account is safe, as long as you don't lose this device, right? But the problem is, I mean, you can save your credentials, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, that there could be malware in the system which can just wait for you to log in, and then it will start the malicious transactions, right? So it cannot actually prevent the malware. It doesn't know whether there is any malware in the system or not. Okay? So to deal with this malicious software, you can do something like I initially mentioned, this trusted platform module, which is a special chip in your machine, which can do some, it's actually a separate kind of a small processor, a very low power processor. It has its own memory. It can store some secrets in it, and it has some sort of physical security in it, built into it as well. And they are pretty available. And that is this guy here, this TPMs, Trusted Platform Modules. And recently, Intel has this Intel Trusted Execution technology. So many of their newer processors have this thing in their system. So the way that they work is like, so this is actually a TPM chip. So what it does is, when it's in your system, you can use it to measure all the software that is being loaded in the system, starting from your BIOS. So when you turn on the machine, whatever software that ran into the system, so this chip can take a measurement of everything. And then you can give it to somebody else, or you can some way verify it. You can, so this chip, it can sign that measurement and show it to you in some way. Then you can make a decision. You can sort of, if there is any malicious software in the system, the measurement will be different than what you are expecting, right? So that's what this chip can do. But the problem is, as I said, I mean, it will take the measurement, and it has to communicate that measurement to the users, right? At the end, somebody is going to make that decision, right, whether the system is safe or not. So the problem is, how do you communicate to the user, right? If the chip says, okay, the system is not good, but the user still continues using the system, you know that it's not going to help, right? So you can think that, okay, what kind of stupid users will make that kind of mistakes, right? I'm not going to do that, right? I'm smart enough. But the problem happens like, say the result is, I mean, you cannot just display the result on the same display, right? Because you are running this thing I mean, you're sharing the platform with another malicious system, which is your own operating system, and it can just display any kind of results it wants, right? Even though this chip is saying that, okay, the system is not good, but the OS on top of it, it can just display that, no, everything is fine, you can just go on, right? So another way you can do is, like, say, this thing can show or send the signature or the measurement of the system to a personal device, right? And then this device can verify whether the system is right or wrong, right? So, I mean, there are systems like that. The problem with that one is, actually, these guys, they tested out that one of that kind of a system. The problem is, when you display something in the small display here, you are expecting that the user will take a look here, and then they will remember, I mean, that what is being displayed here, and then take a decision, right? Whether to proceed using the system or not, right? So the problem is, say, here you see the message like, okay, this is not good, you should not use the system. But in the big display, you are seeing like, okay, we are having some difficulties and the system is not working very properly, but I mean, there is no malicious software. It's just, there is some problem with our server or something like that, and you can use the system, it is still fine. So the malware in the system is actually displaying it, and many people get fooled by it. That they cannot, I mean, we tend to believe what we see, right? And what we see in big screen, we tend to believe it more because it's in bigger font, right? So this is what we did, is that say you combine feature of this both thing, you combine feature from I mean, we are trying to design a system that can use a security token, the feature of a security token, which can prevent phishing, and the features from these TPM chips, which can prevent malicious software by measuring the software that you're running in your system, and combining these two features in one system, we designed a system what we call Unicorn. Okay, why this name? Because Unicorn is, it's known as symbol of purity, and it has this one horn, right? So one horn symbolizes that actually the systems that we build, those can be used for one application. So our Unicorn system, we design these Unicorn applications, which has a custom built operating system. So there will be some changes in your regular operating system, and there will be just one application inside of it. And it can reside just beside your own operating system. So you will start it like an application, but it will be like jumping into another operating system without rebooting the system. You don't have to reboot it, right? So you can get a pure system, but that's only for one application, right? And we don't put any restriction on the user operating system. You will be using your main system the way you want, whatever malware you want to load in it, you are free to do so. But in the closed system, in the Unicorn applications that we are going to install in the system, you cannot change it. Well, you can, but if you do, it will not just work, right? Okay, so whatever I'm saying, does it make sense, or it's just, I mean, I just want to make sure that you guys are understanding something that whatever I'm trying to say. I'm not going into too much details in the technicalities, but at least I want that you understand the big picture. Is it okay so far? Yes? So during setup, so I'm trying to explain it first with some example applications. So during setup, so say that you want to use the system with a bank, and that bank is giving you some sort of like a special application, and that will be the Unicorn application, and the measurement of that application have to be loaded in your device. So we are going to use a personal device. We cannot just use a security token, because in those security tokens they are not really programmable. So finally, I mean, at the end, we want something like a closed device like that, but for testing, we used an Android device as a security token. So in that device, you store these measurements and your authentication credentials for a particular bank, and you also, that AIK stands for attestation identity key, and that comes from the TPM chip. So you can create these keys to sign the measurement. So you load the AIK keys and also the bank's the software measurements and your authentication credentials to this device, the personal device that you will be carrying. Okay. And for using the system, the first thing that you want to do is, it's like a regular system. When you start the Unicorn applications, it will just connect to your bank through some SSL connection, just like in regular banking session as you see. And the second step will be that the Unicorn application will take the measurement of the system and display it like a QR code. How many of you have seen this thing before? Well, you cannot avoid it these days, right? It's almost everywhere. So it's the measurement of the software is displayed in the machine, and you take a picture with the phone that you have, and then this phone is going to verify whether this signature is valid or not. How can it do it? It measures the thing because it was preloaded with the expected measurement. So it can just validate whether the current measurement is valid or not, right? And if it can verify the measurement, only then it will release the authentication credential. So you can think of it, it has the password of your bank's password, but it's going to release it only when it can verify that this platform is fine. Otherwise, it will not release it. And even if the user wants to give it out, right, they cannot do it because the device is making the decision, not the user. Okay? So the user's part of the decision is whether I want to use this application or not. And if they want to use the application, they can proceed, but they are not making the security decision of whether the system is safe and when to release your password and when to use the system, right? So we customized a specific version of Ubuntu for this purpose. We cannot just use the regular operating system because they just have too many software in them, right? And as I said, I mean, we are going to measure everything that in that environment that you are going to use as a unicorn application. So if you are going to use a large software base, I mean, you have to measure it, right? You have to read that whole thing. So that will just slow it down. And you also don't need it. You mentioned it earlier that you just need, these systems are like one application-based systems, right? So you don't need the whole operating system just to support one application, right? Okay. So for generally what happens is that, say, if you try to suspend a system, say if you're just trying to suspend your operating system, what happens is that you save the state of that system here, and then you come to this hardware reset phase occurs, and then you go through BIOS, and then go through the bootloader, and then you go through your operating system, right? But in our case, I mean, this thing takes too long because of basically this part. The BIOS is actually slow. But there are some new instructions in current Linux-based systems where you can actually skip the BIOS. You can reboot to another system without going through the BIOS, and that's what we did. So we can, from a saved state, you can just directly go to a bootloader and our operating system.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So does that work like hibernate mode in regular computers?
It's like that, but it will work like when you click on our application or start it somehow, it will just suspend your current system and right away start the new one. So you will feel it like starting a regular application, but it will gonna take a little bit longer than a regular application. But you can just come back to your own system when you are done using the secure system.
Okay.
Right? So we developed applications for mainly two scenarios, where one is like you want to access data stored in a remote server, like in a banking scenario. The other one is you have some encrypted data that you want to use from your own system, and in both cases, you have to install some keys in the device as I showed in the setup phase. So for the remote server case, what happens is that the remote server will send you a nonce, which is used for freshness, and whatever. So PCRs will just signify some registers to measure, and it will say what registers to measure. And when the PC gets this nonce value and the PCR values, it can generate a code. The code is, yes.
Which is where nonce is.
So nonce is something. It's a random value that is used only once. So you are gonna. I mean, it's not security sensitive, but you are not going to use it again. So this is used for freshness guarantee in a transaction. Okay. So as you mentioned, you can sign, the system will sign that value, and that's what we call a code, and send it to the device. Now the device can verify it, and if the verification succeeds, it can send the signed code to the bank. And now the banks know that this is the real user that we are talking to, and his system is clean, right? So I have another example here, which I'll just skip because we don't have much time. I'll skip this one. So I already, okay, so one thing I didn't mention is that the last one is that to reduce this attack surface on the Unicorn applications, we allow it to communicate only with an intended server. So if you're going to use it for one bank, it can only talk to one bank. It cannot go to anywhere else. Okay, and that's actually very important because I told you guys that these TPM chips have been in circulation for quite a while, but there is a very bad attack on those. So even though they can measure the system and let somebody else know what's in there, I mean, you can actually subvert it in a very simple way. So the way is, say that this is the bank which wants to verify a system which is here, you can actually launch a man-in-the-middle attack. So this is the bad guy here who wants to subvert the measurement. So what it will do is like, so it will first get a verification request from the bank and then send it to just the good PC. So this is the good PC. This is not subverted, this is not malicious. He is just sending the request, right? So the PC is just thinking it is coming from the bank, and it will just generate the measurement, sign it, and send it back to the bad guy, and he is gonna relay it to the bank. And now the bank is gonna think that the bad guy is actually owning that good machine, right? So having a TPM and having the feature of measuring the system may not help you if you allow indiscriminate communication. But in our case, this system will not talk to the bad guy. So you can actually stop this part, and this relay attack will not succeed. So it takes about 25 seconds to boot into our system when you save the older part. When you suspend your system, if you don't want to suspend your system, it takes about 15 seconds. But this is, you can, I mean, we didn't spend a lot of engineering effort to optimize it. You can, I mean, you can take this time down to maybe 10 seconds or even lower than that. So this is, so we wanted a system which would give you two-factor kind of protection. So the attacker has to have that device with your keys in it, and they also have to have access to the machine that you have registered before. So unless they can do both, they cannot actually compromise the system. And switching is important. When you are going from this untrusted system to the trusted system, it takes time, and if you have to wait like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you will not do that, right? No sane person will do it. So we have to minimize that time as much as we can. So in our system, as I said, it's not optimized, but it is better than almost 50% faster than any other regular system that we have now. And that's it for the Unicorn applications. If you have questions, I can take them now.
Any questions?
No, you understood everything. Can I ask question? Yes, go ahead.
What is the expectation for the how people will receive this type of protection? Because it does involve some amount of time. There's cost of time. Is there potential to optimize the speed of it before presenting it, or is it already like available?
It's available as a prototype, but it's not optimized as I mentioned. But you know, it takes time to optimize this kind of things, right? And in academia, we cannot or we don't have that much of time to optimize these things much, right?
I'm guessing this is a bit similar to maybe some secure terminals for very important operations that are placed in secure locations.
Yeah.
But it enables it on just a normal computer.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
so the goal here is basically to remove the need for very expensive equipment and allow it on
Normal machine.
So what kind of clientele would be targeted by this?
So this can be used by the government agencies. Sometimes they use their laptops and access very sensitive data in somewhere that's not good, right? They just copy the data in a USB and use it somewhere else, in their home PC or something like that. And if you follow the news, you might have seen it happen quite a few times that a lot of social security number and all those sensitive numbers are leaked from home machines of government employees, right? So you can use it for that kind of setup. So with that, they cannot access the data unless they are in a secure environment. Right?
So the only vulnerability is just to take the machines, right? Or any.
You have to take both the machine and the security device.
Okay. Other than that, it's pretty it's like it's a half job for you to actually take whatever it is you want, right?
Yeah.
You actually need both pieces.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this vulnerable at the root science certificates for SSL, or could this actually fix that
Well,
system?
I'm glad that you brought it up. So actually, this would be very, very difficult for that kind of attack. So many of you have seen probably recently that there were attacks on the root CAs, and if you can compromise one of the CAs, then you can actually sign certificates for anybody, right? You can sign certificate for Google, you can sign certificate for any of the banks that you want. And here, you have sort of a built-in protection against it, because as I said, you are supporting only one application. And that one application is used for only one bank. And that bank uses a particular CA, right? So unless, you can just remove all other CAs from the system, right? So unless you can compromise that particular CA, instead of just compromising any CAs, the certification system should be fine. So I don't want to take more time. If you have questions, I'll be here. I just want to show off another small thing that you are doing. So, you cannot use the Unicorn applications right away. As I mentioned earlier, this requires some special setup, but you can try out this one. So everybody enjoys generating passwords, right? And you can all generate secure passwords, right? Yes? Sometimes. So what it does is you can give this tool any digital content you have. It could be an email, it could be a song, it could be a file, whatever you want, and it will generate a secure password from it. And you can use it in Firefox, and if you have Android device, you can download it from Android Market as well. And that's it. Thanks for your time.